You're watching the Aramco 2022 F1 car reveal series. Alpine launched the new A522 in Paris with a notable absentee, the car itself. That's because the real thing is being hastily assembled in Barcelona ahead of a filming day scheduled to take place on Tuesday, just before the start of pre-season testing. What Alpine did have was two show cars. One was in its main livery with pink flashes that will be used for most of the year. But it also had a special pink BWT liveried car, what Alpine called a flipped version, that will be used for the first two races of the season. So during testing in the early races, it will very much look like a 2017 to 2020 era Force India Racing Point tribute act, which means Esteban Ocon should feel very much at home. Alpine shunned the bombast you might expect from one of F1's works teams launching, with a target of aiming for 5th at least. That's the same position it finished last year, and in fact it's finished 4th, 5th or 6th every year since 2017, so this is a rather modest objective for a team that did at least manage to win a race in 2021. Right now, the key is getting the car ready to run on the filming day, with parts working their way from the UK to Spain as we speak in order for the car to run after what has apparently been a tough winter at Alpine. Fortunately for us, Alpine did release a series of renders of the real 2022 design for us to look at, albeit with some key details hidden and with all the usual caveats we have to attach to such images. So let's take a closer look. One of the big talking points in Alpine's various launch interviews was the need for better integration between the car and power unit side. We'll get onto the detail of the engine itself later, but it was described by new technical director Matt Harmon as the starting point for design work, with a big push on tightening the packaging to create aerodynamic opportunity. Renault claims that, as a result of the changes, the cooling system of the 2022 specification power unit is 15% smaller than last year's. That, combined with other structural changes, explains why the somewhat chunky look of the car in the centre of the airbox is a thing of the past. Just take a look at the smaller airbox intake compared to last year's car, and the much neater engine cover for how big a difference this has made. So let's take a closer look at what Alpine has done with these packaging gains aerodynamically. As the race's technical expert Gary Anderson has observed, it has a fairly high leading edge of the underfloor where the entrance to the all-important ground effect Venturi tunnels is. This is more uniform than we've seen from many teams and is likely to be more detailed on the real car. It also features the ubiquitous large bargeboard vane to minimise the impact of the front tyre wake on the underfloor, and features two visible splitters inside it. The side pods are full width at the top, with a letterbox shaped radiator inlet. It also features a relatively aggressive undercut at the leading edge of the side pod to induce outwash and scavenge excess airflow from the forward corner of the underfloor. There's then a reasonable undercut to pull airflow into the Coke bottle area and across the top of the diffuser's upper surface. The top of the side pod also has a smooth downwash shape, albeit less aggressive than what we've seen from Mercedes. Alpine has opted for the louvres above the radiator and on the side of the engine cover, but there's also a rear exit just above the top wishbones of the pull rod rear suspension, although the detail revealed at the rear of the car is very limited. Moving back to the front of the car, Alpine has a slot gap between the bottom and second element of the front wing. However, the renders show no slot gap separators, which could very well be an omission from the renders unless the design is somehow stiff enough without them. The front suspension is pushrod operated. The track rod is higher relative to the wishbone than some, for example Ferrari, and is almost in line with the top wishbone. There are still plenty more secrets to be revealed by Alpine, but the renders released have at least given us a good idea of its package, or at least where the design was when the renders were produced. With the rate of change in F1 with the new regs, the car will likely look a little different when it finally gets going in Barcelona, as we've seen with Haas and McLaren already this week when they hit the track for their filming days. You're watching the Aramco 2022 F1 car reveal series. Laurent Rossi became Alpine Car's CEO in January last year, giving him overall dominion of the Formula 1 team. Despite Alpine taking the first win for the brand in F1, And Team Enstone's first victory since the 2013 Australian Grand Prix with Esteban Ocon in Hungary last year, Rossi recognised the need for change. This is the 7th season since the Renault Works team was revived for 2016 by buying Ailing Lotus. But despite its original target to emerge as a title-challenging force in 5 years, it has stagnated in the upper midfield, with its Best Constructors' Championship finish 4th back in 2018. Last year, it was only 5th and fortunate to beat the quicker AlphaTauri. Despite the opportunity presented by the 2022 technical regulations, Rossi last year revealed he had a 100-race plan to get to the front by 2024. And having identified key weaknesses with the team, notably a culture of conservatism, he decided change was needed. The upshot is significant changes at the top of the team. De facto team principal Marcin Budkowski has left his role as technical director, having held the position since 2018. He is effectively replaced by new team principal Otmar Safnauer, who left Aston Martin at the end of last year. As part of those changes, Davide Brivio, who joined last season having run the title-winning Suzuki MotoGP squad, is appointed to the curiously named new role of Director of Racing Expansion Project. According to Alpine, this puts him in charge of fostering team spirit in all racing categories and also identifying, developing and bringing to life projects around new opportunities for Alpine within the world of motorsport. Alain Prost has also left his position as non-executive director. He claimed this was his choice, but was furious that the news leaked before it was announced. There have also been technical changes. Pat Fry, who joined the team as chassis technical director in February 2020, has been promoted to chief technical officer. He is tasked with a big picture technical approach. Fry has a huge amount of experience in Formula 1, having first joined the team when it was in its Benetton guise in 1987 as an electronics design engineer before moving into race engineering. He subsequently spent 17 years at McLaren before joining Ferrari and then, after a brief stint working with Manor, returning to McLaren on a short-term troubleshooting basis prior to his Renault move. Matt Harmon has become technical director with greater focus on the chassis concept and day-to-day performance and processes. He has been charged in particular with overseeing chassis and power unit integration, given his powertrain experience, having worked for the Mercedes engine division for 18 years prior to joining Renault as chief designer in late 2018. The Alpine A522 is the product of work done under the old regime, so it will take time for these changes to have a full impact. And the current car is the product of a team that still appears to lack sharpness in terms of its processes. In the meantime, Alpine has its work cut out to keep pace with McLaren and Ferrari, who have made significantly more progress of late. There have also been changes on the power unit side of the team, with former Peugeot Motorsport boss Bruno Famin taking control of its engine facility at Viry-Châtillon. This follows the departure of Rémi Taffin, who left his position as Renault F1 engine boss last July. Famin was previously the FIA's Director of Operations, but he's best known for his time at Peugeot, during which he was Technical Director for its Le Mans 24 Hours winning LMP1 project and also in charge of the Motorsport division for its 3 Dakar Rally wins. But even before Famin's arrival, there has been a change of approach in the engine division. This is an area Rossi has identified where a conservative, safe job was being done. With the engine freeze kicking in over the course of 2022, as well as the need to adapt to the introduction of E10 fuel that contains 10% renewable ethanol, Renault's 2022 engine needs to be a big step forward. The consensus was that it was the weakest of the 4 power unit manufacturers by the end of last year, albeit not by a huge margin. That was the consequence of what has been characterised by some internally as an effective engine freeze in 2021. But Renault has been the least successful of the engine suppliers in the V6 turbo hybrid era, winning only 13 races. This year's power unit package is a far more aggressive design. This season, Renault switches to the split turbo concept, pioneered by Mercedes in 2014 and adopted by Honda in 2017. It has also pushed hard for more compact packaging and attempted to find gains in both the V6 itself and the ERS. How effective these changes have been remains to be seen, but if the power unit is still the weakest of the 4 in F1, then that could put Alpine on the back foot not just in 2022, but all the way to the end of 2025. So as important as the changes at Enstone are, Alpine desperately needs Viry to deliver a big engine improvement this year if it's to come close to achieving its works team potential.